Alone. There is a kind of loneliness that has no name. Not the loneliness of being physically alone in a room. Not the loneliness of a quiet Friday night with no plans. Something deeper than that. Something that follows you into crowds. Something that sits beside you at dinner tables full of people. Something that watches you laugh at a joke while whispering inside your chest that none of this is real connection. That kind of loneliness is the dangerous kind because it hides. It wears a normal face. It goes to work, replies to messages, nods at conversations. But inside, there is a silence so loud, it becomes its own kind of noise. And the terrifying truth is, most people carrying that silence never speak about it. Not because they cannot find the words, but because they tried once, and nobody truly understood. So they stopped trying, and the silence grew heavier. There is something nobody tells you about loneliness. It is not always about the absence of people. Sometimes it is about the absence of being truly seen. You can be surrounded by friends and still feel completely invisible. You can be in a relationship and still feel like a stranger sleeping beside someone. You can be loved by your family and still feel like something essential about you was never fully understood by any of them. That disconnect, that invisible gap between who you are and who the world sees when it looks at you, that is where the deepest loneliness lives. Not in empty rooms, in misunderstood silences, in conversations that stay on the surface because going deeper felt too risky, in the version of yourself you perform every day versus the version that exists quietly when everyone else is gone. Some people discovered loneliness young. Maybe they were the child who thought differently in a family that valued conformity. Maybe they were the sensitive one in an environment that treated sensitivity like weakness. Maybe they understood things too early, felt things too deeply, saw through things too quickly for the people around them to feel comfortable. And so they learned to be quiet about it. They learned to shrink, to fold their real thoughts into smaller shapes so they would fit inside conversations that were never built for them. That shrinking leaves marks, not visible ones, but real ones, the kind that make a person feel like they are always slightly outside of every room they enter, always observing rather than belonging, always wondering what it would feel like to just exist somewhere without editing yourself first. There are people who have spent years being the one who checks on everyone else, the one who asks how you're doing and actually waits for the answer, the one who remembers what you mentioned 3 months ago and brings it up because they were thinking about you, the one who shows up quietly without being asked. And those people often carry the most hidden loneliness because they give so naturally that nobody thinks to give back, not out of cruelty, just out of assumption. The assumption that someone so emotionally present must be okay, must be full, must not need what they so easily offer others. But they do. They lie awake at night, not angry, just quietly exhausted, from years of being the one who cares more, from loving in a language that very few people ever learned to speak back. Loneliness has a specific feeling at night. Daytime is manageable. There is movement, noise, tasks, obligations, things to do that keep the mind occupied. But night removes all of that. Night strips away the distractions and leaves you exactly where you are. And if where you are is lonely, Night makes sure you feel every inch of it. The hours between midnight and 4 in the morning belong to people who are carrying something heavy. The ones staring at ceilings, the ones scrolling through old conversations, looking for something they cannot name. The ones replaying moments, rewriting endings, imagining alternative versions of their lives where things turned out differently. Not dramatically differently, just with a little more warmth, a little more understanding. Someone who stayed. There is a specific loneliness that comes after loss. Not just the loss of a person through death, but the loss of a person who is still alive. A friendship that faded without explanation. A relationship that ended and took years of shared memory with it. A family member who is physically present, but emotionally unreachable. That kind of loss is complicated because there is no clean ending to grieve. The person exists somewhere. You might even see them occasionally, but the version of them you knew, the dynamic you shared, the specific warmth of that particular connection, that is gone. And grief for something that has no funeral, has nowhere to go. It just circulates, showing up unexpectedly in small moments. A song, a street, a type of weather. Suddenly the chest is heavy again for something the world does not recognize as loss. People underestimate how much energy loneliness consumes. It is not passive. It is not simply the absence of something. It is active. It works constantly in the background, quietly draining resources you were planning to use elsewhere. The chronically lonely person wakes up already tired, not from poor sleep necessarily, from the weight of existing in a world that does not quite feel like it was built for them. Every social interaction requires calculation. How much to reveal? How much to hold back? Which version of themselves is safe to show here? Whether this person is genuinely interested or just being polite. That calculation is exhausting, and it happens so automatically, so constantly, that many lonely people have forgotten they are even doing it. It became background noise, part of the architecture of their daily existence, a habit of guardedness that started as protection and slowly became a prison. Here is something true about deeply lonely people. They are often the most interesting ones in the room, because solitude, when endured long enough, does something to a person's inner life. It deepens it. When you do not have constant external stimulation, when you are not filling every silence with noise, you are forced to sit with yourself. And that sitting, as uncomfortable as it is, produces something. Perspective, depth, a particular quality of attention. Lonely people notice things others miss. They watch carefully, because watching was what was available to them when participating felt too complicated. They think in dimensions others do not access, because thinking was the companion when other companions were absent. They developed interior lives of extraordinary richness, precisely because the exterior offered them so little. That is not a consolation prize. That is a real thing, a hard-earned, genuinely valuable thing. But depth is a strange gift, because it makes connection simultaneously more necessary and more difficult. The deeper your inner life, the harder it is to find someone whose depth matches yours. The more you understand about human complexity, the less satisfied you become with surface conversations. And so the loneliness that produced the depth is also sustained by it. You cannot go back to shallow. You have been ruined for pretending. You cannot sit in a conversation that stays on the surface and feel genuinely nourished by it. So you leave gatherings early, not because you are antisocial, but because performing connection while feeling the absence of it is more exhausting than being alone. There is a particular loneliness in being misunderstood, not dismissed, not ignored, misunderstood. When someone looks at you and constructs an interpretation of who you are that is just slightly wrong in every dimension. When they respond to the version of you they have imagined, rather than the person actually standing in front of them, and you try to correct the record, gently at first, then more clearly, but the image they have already formed is more comfortable for them than the complexity you are offering. So they keep the image, and you keep the distance. After enough of that, a person stops trying to be fully known. It starts feeling like a project with no return. Why explain yourself completely to someone who has already decided what you are? And that resignation is quiet and devastating because it means choosing loneliness over the exhaustion of being perpetually misread. Some loneliness is chosen, not because solitude is preferred above all things, but because past connection taught painful lessons. Trust was extended. It was not handled carefully. Vulnerability was offered. It was used as evidence against you later. Openness was practiced. It was mistaken for weakness and exploited. And the human mind learns. It is very good at learning. So it learns. Connection carries risk. Opening up creates exposure. Caring too much hands someone else the ability to hurt you. And slowly, without one decisive moment, the walls come up, not from bitterness, from intelligence, from the body's attempt to prevent the repetition of pain it already knows too well. The tragedy is, those same walls that protect from pain also prevent the very thing the person is longing for. Loneliness teaches you about hunger, not physical hunger, the hunger for being genuinely understood, for having your specific way of seeing the world reflected back by someone else who sees it similarly. That hunger can go unfed for years, and when it goes unfed long enough, you stop recognizing it as hunger. You start calling it by other names. Independence, introversion, preference. You build an entire identity around the adaptation you developed in response to unmet need. And that identity is not false, but it is not complete either. Beneath the carefully constructed self-sufficiency, there is still that original hunger, quiet now, patient, but present, waiting for someone who will finally make it unnecessary. There is loneliness that comes from growing. When you change fundamentally, when your values shift, when your understanding of life expands beyond the container your old relationships were built inside, you often find yourself standing somewhere new with the people you love still standing where you used to be. And the gap between you is not from conflict. There is no argument to resolve, just distance created by different internal journeys, taken at different speeds, in different directions. You love them. They love you. But the versions of you that loved each other most fluently belong to an earlier chapter, grieving that, while remaining present in the relationship, is one of the more quietly painful experiences life offers without warning. Here is what loneliness does to time. It stretches it. An evening alone, when the aloneness is unwanted, can feel geological. Hours move like something learning to walk. You check the time. It has been 11 minutes, while an evening spent in genuine connection, where conversation flows without effort, and 2 hours pass feeling like 20 minutes. Lonely people understand time differently because they have spent so much of it in the slow version, watching it, waiting for it to move, learning eventually that waiting for time to pass is a strategy that only increases the suffering. There is a loneliness specific to people who feel everything deeply, because feeling deeply means that every goodbye lands harder, every disappointment cuts further, every moment of genuine warmth is felt so completely that its absence afterward is devastating. You cannot choose which emotions to feel fully. It is not selective. The same depth that makes joy extraordinary makes loss unbearable. The same sensitivity that makes beauty visible everywhere makes cruelty impossible to brush off. And in a world that often rewards emotional hardness, that treats feeling as inefficiency, that confuses numbness with strength, deeply feeling people frequently find themselves translating themselves into a language their environment can accept, softening their reactions, minimizing their responses, apologizing for caring too visibly. That translation is a form of loneliness, existing in the original language with no one around who speaks it natively. But here is what is also true. Even in the deepest loneliness, even in the years when connection felt theoretical, the human spirit did not stop reaching. Maybe quietly, maybe disguised as something else, but it reached. In the books chosen, in the music that felt like recognition, in the strangers briefly met, whose eyes held something familiar, in the moments of unexpected beauty that broke through the numbness for a few seconds and reminded you that you were still capable of being moved. The reaching never fully stopped, and that matters enormously, because it means the hunger was never extinguished, only quieted, waiting for the right conditions to speak again. Loneliness is not permanent. That needs to be said clearly, because when you are inside it, it feels like the defining structure of your life. Not a season, a climate. Not something you are going through, something you are. But it is not. Loneliness is a condition, not an identity. And conditions change, not always through dramatic intervention, not always through meeting one transformative person or having one life-altering conversation. Sometimes it changes through accumulation, small moments of genuine contact that slowly rebuild the sense that connection is possible. One conversation that went deeper than expected. One person who asked the right question and waited for the real answer. One experience shared with another human being where both of you, briefly, were fully present and fully honest, and the space between you closed a little. Those moments do not erase years of loneliness, but they interrupt it, and interruptions become evidence. Evidence that the walls are not permanent structures, that they were built by experience and can be softened by experience. Recovery from deep loneliness is not linear. You will have periods of genuine warmth, followed by returns to isolation. You will meet someone who seems to understand you, and then discover the understanding was partial, and feel the disappointment of almost but not quite. That disappointment is brutal, because almost is in some ways harder than nothing. It shows you the shape of what you want, It proves the thing you hunger for is real. And then it withdraws. But almost as also information. It means the capacity for connection is functional. The thing you fear may have been permanently damaged is demonstrated by the almost to still be working. There is something important about learning to be alone versus being lonely. They sound similar. They are fundamentally different. Being lonely is the pain of unwanted solitude, the feeling of absence, of isolation, of disconnection. It is defined by what is missing. Being alone well is the capacity to inhabit your own company with something approaching peace. Not every moment, not without difficulty, but without the frantic need to fill the silence with anything available, just to escape yourself. That capacity is learnable. It does not come naturally to everyone, but it develops through practice, through sitting with the discomfort of your own presence instead of running from it, through discovering that you are a more tolerable companion to yourself than you initially believed. And paradoxically, people who learn to be alone well often become better at connection because they stop entering relationships from desperation. They stop clinging to people out of fear of the alternative. They choose connection rather than fleeing loneliness. And chosen connection is a different quality than connection entered as escape. The body keeps the score of loneliness too. This is not metaphor. Chronic loneliness registers physically. It affects sleep, immune function, cardiovascular health. The body treats prolonged social isolation the way it treats other genuine threats, with stress responses that were designed to be temporary but become damaging when sustained, which means loneliness is not weakness. It is not self-pity. It is not a character flaw. It is a genuine human need going unmet. And the body responds to unmet needs the way it always responds, with signals, increasingly urgent ones, the tiredness, the heightened sensitivity to perceived rejection, the way small social slights feel disproportionately painful. These are not overreactions. They are the body communicating that something essential is missing, and the situation requires attention. There are things lonely people need to hear. That their loneliness is not evidence of unworthiness. That the absence of deep connection in their life so far does not mean deep connection is unavailable to them. That the people who failed to truly see them were limited by their own capacity, not accurate judges of what there was to see. That being misunderstood is painful, but it is not permanent. That the right connection, when it comes, will not require you to shrink, will not ask you to edit yourself into a more acceptable version, will not make you feel like your natural self is too much. The right connection will feel, for the first time possibly, like enough room, like you can stop calculating, stop translating, stop holding yourself at careful angles, so the parts of you that might be too much remain out of frame. There is also something to be said for what loneliness has built in you, the patience, because you had no choice but to learn it, the capacity to sit with discomfort without immediately reaching for something to make it stop, because you had years of practice, the quality of attention you bring to other people when genuine connection does occur, because you know what connection costs. You do not take it lightly. You bring your full presence to it, the way people who know hunger savor the meal, the empathy for other isolated souls, because you recognize the signs from the inside. the carefully maintained surfaces, the laughter that does not quite reach the eyes, the person at the edge of the group, watching instead of participating. You see them because you were them, and that recognition is a form of grace. If you are sitting somewhere tonight, feeling the particular weight of this, feeling the specific quality of lonely, that has no simple solution. Know that you are not broken. You are not evidence of a world that has no place for you. You are a person with a need that has not yet been met. That is different, and needs that have not yet been met can still be met. The future is under no obligation to repeat the past. The version of you reading this is not the final version. The capacity for connection in you is not diminished by the times it went unanswered. It is still there, quieter, maybe, more guarded, certainly, but still fundamentally intact. There will be a moment you cannot predict when, where something shifts. It may not be a dramatic moment. Probably not. Probably it will be small. A conversation that surprises you by going deep. A person who asks a question and genuinely waits. A moment where you risk being honest, and the honesty is received with care instead of judgment. And something in you, some part that had been very still for a long time, will move. Not a complete transformation, not the end of all difficulty, just a small movement, a softening, a crack in the architecture that lets something new begin to enter. The loneliness you carry right now is not the whole story. It is a chapter, a long one maybe, an important one certainly, one that has shaped you in ways you are still discovering, but not the whole story. The whole story is still being written, and whoever is writing it has not yet decided what comes next. That uncertainty, which can feel like the loneliness's accomplice, is also the space where everything can still change. Storms feel permanent from inside them, but they have edges. Even the longest, darkest ones have edges, and somewhere beyond the part you're currently standing in, the sky is different. You cannot see it yet, but that does not mean it is not there. Keep going, quietly.